Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the Political Matrix.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the Political Matrix News broadcast. It is the beginning of Memorial Day weekend. And I'm sitting here with my partner, Scott Miller, and he's my partner in crime of doing politics with him. I've been working with him for 20-some years, but he's been in the industry for nearly 30 years, doing campaigns throughout Northwest Florida. He's a seasoned veteran, and he's been through a lot of battles and wars with me. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. Like I said, it's just, nothing like analyzing politics with my partner in crime. Well, we weren't involved in any crimes.
Actually, yeah, we don't do any crimes. The criminal activity is toward us by the enemies that we have faced over the years.
We were certainly first person observers to some crimes.
Yes, we were, and we've turned them in. So I mean, but what the authorities do, politics. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Here is we have an issue here of ballot harvesting, which is a wonderful issue that has actually been finally certified as a felony, or I think it's a first degree felony now in Florida, or it might be a third degree misdemeanor. It was a third degree misdemeanor for a while, but I think they finally have accelerated it to the felony status, and I could be wrong there, but I think DeSantis did that a couple of years ago. But however, the Trump campaign, Lord Trump, and actually the RNC wants to go ahead and figure out a legal way of doing ballot harvesting for the campaign against Biden coming up in the general election. And I think the whole idea is that she just wants to hit all pistons going, full steam ahead, and basically beat the Democrats every single way of collecting ballots they can, and beat them at their own game, and basically, not holding any punches back. So, I mean, that being said, I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, personally, I have a deep-rooted disdain for ballot harvesting to begin with, because it really is. There's no accountability. It is the Wild West.
No.
People go out, pick up ballots. If they know the person, they'll chat someone up, see who they voted for, or how they feel like they voted. And if they don't like it, maybe that ballot makes it, maybe it doesn't. And so if the only ones you're picking up and actually delivering are for people that you support, and you're like forgetting about the ones that don't, well, that's just wrong. But I understand the RNC and frankly Trump's position here. I think the reason that they're doing this is to troll the Democrat Party more than anything else.
It could be that. I mean, I think the biggest issue here is that in reality, on these ballots, there are far more elections on the ballot than just the top election. I mean, when you go down ballots, you have city council races, county commissioner races, amendment races, state reps, state senates, U.S. Senate, governor, so on and so forth. And so you might actually like the ballot at the first top of it, but if you're actually friends, I mean, most of the people who are going to be collecting these ballots are going to be politically active people. And so these politically active people are going to have friends who are running for office, most likely. And if that person ends up voting against them, they might like the top half of the ballot, but the bottom half they might not like. And the ballot might not make it. It just might, disappear on the way. Who knows? I mean, there's no real guarantee. There's no accountability there. And so without the accountability of it being done like a regular vote is, I mean, right now, I think ballots can only be delivered by family members or close family members or certified, or people who are certified by the elections officers.
In some jurisdictions.
In some states. In some other states, you still can't even do this. And the Democrats still do it illegally. Now, they're talking about doing it legally. And if they can do that legally, that's great. However, you still have the intangible side of human nature. And human nature dictates that people sometimes, cheat every now and then. I mean, or maybe, they're not completely honest on their taxes, or they might run a red light, or they might run a stop sign, or they might go ahead and see a ballot who's voting against somebody that they're related to, and they might throw it out. And that being said, it's not a very secure way of voting. It's not a very secure way of guaranteeing an election either. And I do think it needs to be avoided.
It just completely boggles my mind how these guys can, would be suspicious of the government, and not believe the government's going to give them a fair shake. And yet they'll take someone who's not even as accountable as the government,
right,
and trust them with probably one of the most valuable things that they have, which is their vote.
Exactly. And I mean, it's totally ridiculous. I mean, it's almost as similar as I had a meeting last week with the Alachua County Deputy Supervisor of Elections. And he was telling me that the intent of the voter is not pertinent toward getting a petition signed to be on the ballot. I mean, we're looking at signatures, and he was saying a candidate I was working with did not have signatures that matched. And signatures that he had were from like 1994 and 1985. And he expected them to be the exact same signature 30 to 40 years later. And so he was just saying that because the signatures did not match 30 years later, that they were not valid. And so that the spirit of the law or the spirit of the voter was not, it didn't matter at all, which is
the
really
will
bullshit.
of the voter is unimportant.
Exactly.
It's the way that they rule the will of voter.
Exactly. And so I mean, and these are elected officials saying the same types of things. And then you want to throw a non-elected official in there picking up ballots at like a nursing home or a church or some sort of place where a lot of people cannot deliver them or understand to mail them back because they're not mailing ballots. It throws I mean, to quote a guy, from the old Fugitive movie, it's kind of hinky. I mean, it's really weird. It's really strange for anybody to think that is a fair or methodical way of winning a nationwide election. I mean, I think everybody needs to slow down a little bit and realize these are state by state elections, and every single jurisdiction is different, like you said, and they need to just follow the rules and compliance of those states and quit getting so wrapped up in we got to get every single vote. You got to do it right. You can't,
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. It is an effective way of getting votes. It's just not an ethical way of getting votes because the way that it has to work, you're depriving someone else of their vote.
Exactly. I mean, the voting is a very important thing for all of us Americans that we enjoy here in this country as our peaceful transfer of power. We have to really realize that. And I mean, ballot harvesting is not a way to fix it. It's not a way to address it. It's not even anything we should even talk about. Now, I mean, I know I argue with a lot of Republicans who say, "But Democrats do it." I'm like, well, they fell off a cliff. You follow them. I mean, it goes back to
if they robbed a bank. Would you rob a bank?
Yeah, it goes back to the same thing we tell children when they were kids. I mean, you just two wrongs don't make a right, and I mean, we should stay away from this totally altogether. And I think, I mean, the whole idea of this election cycle is going to be won the right way. I think there's so many people looking at everybody cheating. I think the cheating is probably going to be a lot less because there's so many eyeballs everywhere. I mean, even the last cycle when they were trying to throw the blinds up, I think they're going to have to get extra hard blinds to throw the blinds up now because I think people are so aware of that now and so suspicious of it. I don't think anybody's going to have the gall to do what they did in the 2020 election.
I just don't think that it's a viable option to come up with ever more creative ways to be corrupt. I mean, that thought process permeates itself into the government, and your guys, sure they're working with you. They're passing the legislation that you want. The question is a guy that's willing to cheat in the election. What else is he cheating in?
There. I mean, and it also shows that bad elections create bad politicians.
Absolutely.
I mean, whenever you look at a community that has a lot of corruption, you really want to look at the election process first. Like in Alachua County here, where I live, where I just moved a year ago, I thought was a lot better, because we're a lot cleaner whenever I moved here than it is now. Since I've been working in local politics for the last year, I've seen so much corruption around here. But I think a lot of it starts at the elections office. Whenever you have an elections office who doesn't want to run clean elections or fair elections or equal elections to everybody, then you're basically getting what gets elected by by negative actions, and you're not getting good people because the good people didn't have a chance to really win because the fix was in.
For sure.
And whenever that happens, I mean, it just it basically creates a very bad losing election, and it creates corruption, policy issues, and then you scratch your head and wonder how come all the debt is going out of control, and people just don't. The reality is that have the good leaders because there's no good election. But we're going to go ahead and size it up here for this here episode here of the Political Matrix. We're going to be coming back. I think we're going to be talking about some stuff with Fauci and the COVID issue. and some statements that he made here recently, an ex-Fauci worker. And so we'll be talking about that here in the next episode. Thank you so much for this episode.